Hey, this is Dan with Potential Adventure, and today is the end of the camping season. It's that time of year when you're done with the camping. The campgrounds are all closing. It's starting to get colder. Hunting season is pretty much over. I think there might be one late elk hunting season left, but this is kind of the time of year when we start regrouping, looking at how the camping season went, and trying to figure out any upgrades or improvements we want to do. And during the year, we had a great upgrade this year. Let me show you what it is. It's really cool. This is our Green Mountain Grills Davy Crockett, and we started picking this one. When did we get this one? We got this back in August and started using it at that point. It has been a great barbecue to have, and it's a great thing to have, especially for camping. Now you can see we used it last weekend when we were up at Mount St. Helens, and we used it quite a bit. If you're new to pellet barbecues, then, well, they run off electricity. They don't run off propane or charcoal like a conventional barbecue does. And the people at Green Mountain Grills have really done us a solid here because their systems run off 12 volts DC. That means you could use a car battery to run it. And thus, the design is more for camping. It's a lot better for like tailgating if you want to have a good high quality barbecue, making the food that tastes really good there. And they come with one of these in the actual barbecue itself, so you can hook it right to your battery and get the power you need to run it. Okay, we were at a cabin last weekend. They had AC power, so we just plugged it into the wall, and that was great. But something I've been more concerned about is like if we're boondocking or in a place where we don't have electricity like that, this is designed to run off of 12 volts. And I have taken and plugged it into, let me show you, it's got one of these connectors like so. These go into the cigarette outlet, and that's how you know how old I am, because on a car we called them cigarette outlets because that's what they called them back when I was a kid. Now they call them power outlets. In today's health-conscious world, I guess they market better. So anyways, this is the connector that goes to it. So this barbecue will run off of 12 volts, and it's not supposed to have a huge draw rate. So what I've got is something that I've been wanting to experiment with. I mean, I could hook it to the yoke of the trailer. That kind of limits where I could be barbecuing at. So if I need to put it around the side of the trailer because of a wind or something like that, sometimes I can't do it. So what I wanted to do was find something that was a little bit more of a mobile kind of power supply. And that's where this comes along. This is the Baldr 297 watt-hour generator. It says 330, but if you read the instructions, it says it's actually like 300 or 297. I always go with the lowest number because I figure they probably talked it up a little bit more than it was. But as you can see, it has got one of these right here, and that's a cigarette lighter. Okay, it's a power outlet. Now, if I am cooking something while we're camping and it's like going to be smoked for like maybe 4 or 5 hours, or even if it would be really cool if I could do like a brisket. Those take like 8 hours to cook, and this thing can put out the power for it. It'll do 500 degrees, so it will definitely have plenty of heat for what we need to have. But will that battery last very long? That's kind of what I'm concerned about, and I want to make sure that, you know, if I've got this thing hooked to the barbecue. And I'm talking about the battery here. If I've got that hooked to the barbecue, then is it going to do a great job? You don't want to get like halfway through the smoke section of your, say you're doing ribs or something like that, and then all of a sudden the battery dies because, first of all, the ribs aren't going to be done. You'll get trichomonas, and then you'll die. That's just not in the plan. So what I want to do is I want to check and see if I can get a good long time burn rate on this. If I'm cooking it, say at the 150 degrees to 200 degrees is typically where we smoke it. Tonight I'm going to be doing some pork chops And that's what I'm going to use for the test subject here. I guess if it doesn't work out, you could always just kind of, toss it on the big boy back here and finish it off. So the experiment is pretty much ready to rock. I think today what I'll do is I'll go ahead and use the 12 volt. On this Baldr, you can see that it's got actually a couple different options. I could use the 12 volt here, and that's great. But I could also use this AC here and use it with the transformer that comes with the Green Mountain Grill that reduces it down to 12 volts. But I'm kind of excited to see how this works. Baldr. Yeah, once again, getting back to how old I am. There used to be a TV show called Battlestar Galactica, and they had these creepy Cylon robot bad guys that were under the control of a guy named Baldr. So, sorry, I just threw that in there. No, it really doesn't have anything to do with anything. But let's go ahead and get going on this experiment and see how it works. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and, first of all, turn on the battery. Battery's showing at 100% currently. That's kind of a pun. Battery, currently. Okay. Go ahead and plug that in. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and turn on the barbecue down here. Although we're showing, I've got to push this button here. Okay. Down below here, the power panel is now on. It says the power is currently in the off position, so let's go ahead and turn it on. Now, this is where the interesting part starts to happen here. We start to see what the draw rate is. The noise you hear is the auger. And then what it's doing right now is it's feeding the pellets into the firebox that it's going to use for the ignition. And currently it shows that while it's doing the auger alone, it's at about 72 watts per hour. Now this has to go through a little routine where it's going to go 0, 1. 1 is when the ignition starts, so it'll fire up the hot rod at that point, which should draw probably the most energy during this entire cycle. Then it'll go 2, which means it's starting to get the fans blowing and so forth. And then 3, and then finally it'll just show the temperature of what the box is. So it's in the pre-ignition phase right now. Go ahead and do a quick take a look at that. Okay, you can see right there. I wonder if I could turn the light on here. There we go. Yeah, that's not what I wanted. Okay, there you can see the battery currently says it's at 98% and it's doing 66 watts per hour right now. And it is in the phase where it should be drawing the most power because it is using the electricity to make the hot rod red hot right now. And that is going to probably be the highest power consumption it will need. So we'll go ahead and put this back here. Let's see what's happening here. Everything seems to be working. Normally, the battery power is down to 96%. I saw this happen the other night. I was playing around with this, charging up my phone, and I had charged the battery up to full and then let it sit for like 2 days, and then I plugged the phone in. I think the battery probably has a little bit of what they call decay rate, which means just sitting, it will drain off some of the capacity. Yep. I could smell a little bit of smoke in there, so it's starting to get hot in the inside. Let's take a look and see what else is going on around this thing. Okay, so there we're looking right down the chimney. Yeah, not really smelling any smoke yet, but we're still standing by. Okay, we're now into phase 2, which is turning on the fan. Oh, check it out. See that? We have ignition. So the smoke system is now, the pellets are now being ignited at this point. Oh, that smells good. A little bit of oak. So once again, we're up to phase 2 at this point. Let's check out the battery. Battery's at 96%, and the draw rate on it is showing to be somewhere between 70 and 65 on the watts per hour. It'd be kind of interesting to see. I need to kind of back up here just a little bit. Okay, now the fan is on, and the fan helps to stoke the firebox and get it going and make it a lot hotter in there. The rate of wattage is still about the same, even though the fan is on now and the red hot rod is on. At some point, I almost anticipate that wattage is going to drop, because at some point the hot rod's going to turn off. And we are in cycle number 3. Okay, now it is beyond that. It is in full ignition cycle. A part of the cycle. It is now fully operational. Is at 59 degrees in there. And it's going to take and continue to stoke it with that fan until the fire gets warm enough to heat the inside of the barrel to 150 degrees. So right now it's at 59. I don't know how well that shows up either. This is on a this obviously an LED readout, and they tend to flicker when they get on the video, but we'll see. Okay, looking back here, still 95% on the battery, and 69-70 watts is what's showing as the consumption rate. I'm really kind of hoping this will work. I'm hoping I can get a good long use out of this battery before it goes dead, to the point where I have to, find another way to get this cooking done. I think it would be so cool to be able to go like boondocking and use this to power the barbecue while we're doing ribs and stuff like that. God, that'd be so cool. Let it go for a few hours, and then after that, just charge it back up with a solar panel, or maybe the generator. Okay, we're smoking now. Smoking like crazy. I guess I better run inside and go get those pork chops ready to go. Okay, we're back. This is pretty interesting what's just happened here. So, remember when we left, the draw rate on the battery was about somewhere between 65 and 72 watts per hour is what that means. And at that rate, in theory, the battery would probably run out somewhere around 3-4 hours of use at that rate. But here's the thing. That was while the hot rod was being fired up. That's that stick in there that has to get red hot. And anytime you're running up something that causes heat, the bottom line is it really drains a lot of power to do that. Heat and electrical consumption, they go very hand in hand as far as using it up real quick. So check this out. This is crazy. Watch this. It's like the Batman spin right there. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. Right now, battery's at 93%, and the wattage use right now at this very minute, because let's look down here, we're now at 150 degrees, and it's going to stay there because that's the smoking temperature. Now, what this barbecue is going to do now is it's going to feed pellets into the firebox so it can maintain that 150 degrees. Right now, there's no wattage being drawn. See that right there? No wattage whatsoever. That is so cool. It really gives me a lot of confidence that it's going to be possible to run this thing in the smoking cycle for a long period of time. At 0 watts, I mean, it's not using any battery. Now, I know what's going to happen next is the auger is going to kick on when the temperature drops below 150. It's going to sense that, and it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to, well, it's going to fire up the auger first and put some more pellets in there, and then the next thing it's going to do is it's going to fire up one of the fans, but it will not reignite that hot stick for the rest of this barbecue run. So that's really cool. Once that thing's done, we're not drawing very much power. I think this is going to be a very sustainable battery to be using for doing cooking at the RV when we have no power available. It's going to be cool. So we'll keep an eye on this now and see how we're going to go. I've got the pork chops in there. See them right in there. And the plan is I was going to try to smoke them for about 3 hours and then finish them off. Got to get them up to temperature, which will be a 145 internal temperature. I should go get the little heat probe to get plugged into there, so as we get closer to that, I can go ahead and plug that into the meat, and we'll take the temperature and just keep, for the most part, we'll just keep running it until those things get up to 145 degrees. Then we'll eat them. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. 3 hours have elapsed at this point. Actually, 4 hours have elapsed, and the chops that I put on, the pork chops that I put on, are pretty well smoked up. They're coming up to temperature, but this thing has been running now for that entire 4 hours, and I got to show you. I'll go ahead and show you the numbers here. Ready? Okay, hang on. Let's see here. That's the little, this is a flashlight that this battery has on it, so you can use it as an emergency light. Okay, let me see if you can see those numbers. Not sure if you can. Got to get it at the right angle, I'm sure. Okay, there's the, there we go. Okay, so if you can read that, it says 92%. And it's still showing right now. I've cranked up the heat, but it really doesn't draw any more electricity other than it's just making the auger go. So it's still running its 5, 6. Okay, sometimes when the fan and the auger are at the same time, it'll pull it up to 11 watts. That's nothing. I mean, this thing is at 92%. It's been running for 4 hours. Pretty awesome. I think that this is going to be a great addition to the trailer, and being able to barbecue with this fancy smoker anywhere we go. Yeah, Davy Crockett.